Hi, guys. Welcome to the Wild Witch Show. I am Meghna,
And I am Upamanyu.
and we've got a great show planned for you. Obviously, we have the headline topic. So, plastics have been found in remote Amazon tree dwelling monkeys, which is really alarming and disturbing. And we're also going to be talking about how there's a climate tipping point for ocean reefs worldwide, and there's going to be a mass dieback. What else do we have on the roster, Oops?
Following on the coral theme, there was an artificial reef that was created offshore a wind farm in Sussex. So we'll discuss that. And following that theme of how much should we interfere in nature, which I think from my topics is a theme, we will also talk about how a prosthetic limb was implanted into a sloth bear and how a monarch butterfly's wing was repaired. So that theme of how far should we go and interfere with the nature. So we'll see all of that after this intro.
So, yes, we're going to be talking about the headline topic. Now, this has this is a really recent news which has come up where it says scientists have detected microplastics in red howler monkeys living in protected areas of the Brazilian Amazon, making the first evidence of plastic ingestion by a tree dwelling primate. A study of 47 Jurua red howler monkeys found green microplastic filaments smaller than 5 millimeter in the stomachs of two individuals from the Mamirawa and Amania reserves. Lead author Anamelia de Souza highlighted this as an alarm, showing plastic pollution's reach into supposedly protected environments. Researchers utilized donated remains from subsistence hunters, analyzing stomachs from monkeys hunted in 2015. Red howler monkeys are herbivorous and tree dwelling, making consumption via other routes unlikely. This discovery
Mm.
underscores the pervasive nature of microplastic contamination even in remote, pristine ecosystems, raising concerns about wider ecological impacts. So this basically means that these monkeys, they stay on the tree, they only eat tree-based things, which are all the leaves and everything around them, and yet they have plastics inside them somehow. So this has to be through a water source, right? Oops.
Yes, I think microplastic has been this invasive, like largely and hugely invasive thing since it first started making its rounds. And, as Teflon, became mainstream, and yeah, it has just wreaked havoc. I mean, all of us have microplastic within us. That's without a doubt. And I think Meghna has said this before. It's only because it hasn't had that catastrophical effect on the human population as of yet is the reason why it's not that urgent, or it's not that, oh, we are going to die tomorrow because of mass microplastics, that kind of a narrative yet. But for these howler monkeys, it might as well be that narrative soon enough, and to have reached such a remote part of the. I think also, like, the word remote doesn't mean anything to me anymore, because nothing is remote. Like, I think David Attenborough in one of his documentary was saying that every part of the globe has been touched by humans at some point in time, and every natural place, the supposedly remote place within, I think, 10 kilometers of it, or maybe it was 1 kilometer of it, there is some human activity that is going on. So It's really, really sad to read that line, like microplastics found inside stomachs of Amazon tree-dwelling monkeys. So yeah, and I don't know
Yeah, I
how we
think
go
what
back from there.
yeah, I think the thing is, you know how Oops spoke about this. I've said a lot of times. This is, I think, similar um, to the howler monkeys. Sorry, to sugar. To sugar, how we talk about sugar. So we talk about how sugar is a slow poison, and but we still consume it. So we do not understand the effects of sugar because it doesn't show up as often as it shows up for other things. Like, let's say you become an alcoholic, or you become you abuse drugs or whatever, then you see the effects on your body, and then you can take changes. But with sugar, it's such a slow poison that people don't cut it out of their system because it doesn't
Hmm.
affect your day-to-day life. And similarly, I think microplastics are doing the same thing. So till microplastics start killing us, I don't think we'll be doing anything about it. um and the other thing is obviously that what Oops mentioned, about being remote, like like that was our discussion question as well on this. It says, does protected mean anything anymore?
Hmm.
So yeah, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, if the hunters or the subsistence hunters, whoever can reach, it's not that remote if you can reach it, right? Like, it's obviously remote because it's tough to reach it, but you can still reach it. And it shows that the water pollution that is happening is at a larger scale than you imagine, because when the river and the river flows into the ocean, but there's some kind of mingling somewhere where the plastic is free flowing through the water sources.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And like, I was just trying to see the Google Trends, how you can look up keywords. And I was looking up microplastics. And I think there has been a huge increase in that term being used in the mainstream media, but um, not as much as it you know should be, not as much as it should be, or not as much as you know is needed to really focus the attention of our society towards that one singular goal of eliminating it. And I mean, again, I am someone who truly, truly believes that plastics as a whole, however evil plastics as a whole has given us, like, has taken our society forward in terms of healthcare. And there are other major industries that has only gotten forward, or we as a society have come forward in terms of how we quantify development because of plastics. But at the same time, it's yeah. So in my mind, there's this dichotomy of plastics being very good in one hand in its usability and use cases, but on the other hand, it being the most evil thing ever being created. So I
I
sometimes have to deal with that.
See, I feel like plastics maybe in some use cases have been good, but in most use cases it has just made us lazier. It has given the convenience of being lazy. So what they said is, there was a time when companies, let's say with milk, like how you have Tetra packs and you have milk packets now. There was a time, even in our childhood, this milk guy would come in a with a can, and he would pour it into your utensil, and you would take it. Or else there were companies that used to give these glass milk bottles, and then you give it back to them, and they would sterilize it, and then they would give it back to you. So there was some kind of
Hmm.
onus on either the company or the customer to make sure that there was some kind of seamlessness without plastic. And you know you had some way to avoid plastic, but now that convenience has brought in such a
No, but
wave that
Meghna, see, 1.4 billion people, you can't serve 1.4 billion people without having, that mass
But
approach.
it still happens in all tier 2 tier 3 cities. Milk still goes on those cartons and people still take them in their houses, and even more remote places people have their own cows and they milk them. So there are ways, and there are, it's just more about convenience. So now we would rather, like, Amazon something than go to a store and purchase it, because we're like, okay, and then the Amazon thing would come in whatever packaging it comes in. So we encourage
Mm.
plastics because of convenience. So we want that convenience. We do not want to make that extra effort of now stepping out, or making sure that we do not use as much plastics has made life easier, but at the same time our dependency is very, very high on it.
No, definitely. I think it is because it is such a transformative thing, because plastic is a non-reactive, non-secretive storage container. Nothing else has even come close to the usability of plastic as a food storage container, right? It doesn't react with any food. It doesn't leach any smell to any food. It doesn't break. Glass is the closest, but glass breaks easily. So plastic doesn't break. So exactly, like I completely, like, not supportive, but I am very appreciative of what plastic has sort of done for us in a way, but again, as I said, like, it is the face of evil. Really, it is the face of evil. It is the most evil thing that has ever been created. So yeah, it's um I'm very, I have that dichotomy, and I have that two thoughts in my mind often. And yeah, I think the evil outweighs, I can't really say that, but yeah, I don't know, plastic is
No,
this
no.
hugely debatable
The
thing in my mind.
evil of plastic always outweighs, because you have to understand that leaving healthcare or any other sector that has to be dependent on it, most of it we don't have to be dependent on plastic. We just want to be dependent on it, but we don't have to be dependent on it. There is a need and a want, and right now plastic is a want, it's not a need anymore. Like, we literally cut fruits, then wrap it in plastic and sell it. So that makes zero sense, because you can just have the whole fruit, but we have cut fruits being sold in plastic packs. So I've shared the article
No, no,
on my
I'm
screen.
saying I'm saying that, but what I mean is, like, when I say the good outweighs the evil, or maybe slightly, or is it is at par, at its very worst, is that the advancements that we have made in healthcare can outweigh all the other things that is being caused for humans. I'll agree, for humans.
No, no, it's not even for humans. If tomorrow people start dying from microplastic, would you still outweigh it? Because we all have microplastics inside us, so you cannot outweigh it even now. The good cannot outweigh any time.
No, but like I'm saying, Jay, the progress we have made in healthcare wouldn't have been possible if there was no plastic. That is what I'm saying.
Which is fine. I mean, we have 8 billion people. Even if we had lesser people, would have been fine. In the sense that that cannot be a reason for us to have something as evil as plastic
Like,
in our life.
having 8 billion people is not the problem. The mortality rate is the problem. Like, losing someone, if you have 8 billion people or 20 billion people, losing someone is still the same painful. Like, just because you have 8 billion people doesn't mean losing someone is less painful. So that's where plastic has come in and helped. Like, losing someone early, losing someone at a young age, losing someone due to, trivial reasons for today's standards.
Okay, wait.
That's where plastic has helped.
Before we discuss more of whatever losing someone, I had shared my screen, and oops, did not let me finish that part. But this is the article from Manga Bay. It has been shared for a long time. These are how red howler monkeys look like. So these are the red howler monkeys of the Amazon. And then this is the whole article where it says microplastics were found in the stomachs of the Amazon tree dwelling monkeys. Mongabe, as you know, is strictly and always focuses on the environment and all wildlife things. So it is an amazing and excellent source of information for anything wildlife. Um, and the good part about this study is that no animals were killed or harmed for it. The researchers relied on the remains of monkey donated, that too by the subsistence hunters, so the local hunters that depend on the Amazon. And they had a 2-decade partnership between local communities. And I think this makes it very important, because with remote areas where only the local tribes live, you need to have a very strong relationship if you want to get such kind of research going. And these are
Mm,
the photos of the microplastics found under the microscope.
that is
So
terrifying.
yeah, so these are all 1 mm pieces. So anything I think below 5 mm is classified as a microplastic, if I'm not wrong. So these are
Correct.
found in the in the stomachs, and they say the monkeys that ingested the plastic filaments, um, visible only when examined under a microscope. They were hunted in 2015.
Hmm. So it has been a long standing study that has been happening.
Yeah,
So I think, yeah, I mean that's the question I wrestle with. You know,
yeah, and I think
when there's that debate going on in my mind.
in this article, if you see, it also says that a previous review of plastic pollution in the Amazon found plastic contamination in fish, turtles, manatees, and birds, as well as in river water and soil sediments. So I think this is what we were talking about, that it had to be like a river source. But evidence of
Mm,
microplastics reaching tree dwelling monkeys had never been documented before until now. And I think this is where they did not anticipate it, because the tree dwelling monkeys have to obviously depend on the water source. Where else are they going to drink water from? And
hmm.
the water is the source for all things microplastic now, which is why I think there's a lot of debate and talk also, where they say, the fish that you eat, the fish contain the maximum amount of microplastics. So when
Hmm.
you have fish that has more microplastics than, when they say that don't dip tea bags, they have microplastics. So the tea bags are actually less harmful than the fish that you probably eat.
Yeah, and I think it's. I mean, 90% people are like cooking in a Teflon pan, so like whether they eat fish or not doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think um, these yeah why is such a harmful material had to be created, I don't know. Maybe there was a
No, we
better way.
know. No, we know, because as humans, when we create something, we always create it for the present. We don't create it for the future. So we always think, oh, it's great right now. Like, it's amazing what could go wrong. That is how we generally wing it. We wing it with things like, oh, it seems
But
like an
it's not
amazing
possible
idea.
also for us to know the future, right? Think
No,
about
it's
the
not
future.
possible, but we can at least do this thing that when we research something or we come up with a new product, like let's say even when we've come up with AI, despite making so many movies on AI, I don't think we still consider the cons completely. If we did consider the cons completely, then we would not come up with such kind of products or applications or different kind of things. We do not take the negativity of anything into consideration till it starts biting us.
Yeah, and like far after till it starts biting us, I think that's also needs to be said. Yeah, I think there has been, I mentioned this a couple of episodes ago, but there has been some research into the super glue material, the super glue plastic that makes super glue. There has been some promising research in that field, where that material is being turned into plastic. The problem was that it's very sticky, but that stickiness has been removed, and some cutlery has been tried to made, and they have been made. So I am also very hopeful of that side of research as well, that because that kind of plastic, the polymer that makes super glue is, it doesn't disintegrate however many times you break that polymer and make it into monomers and then again into a polymer. It doesn't disintegrate. The problem with ABS plastic and all the plastic that is available today is that once you fuse it, once the polymer is formed, if you try to break apart the bonds again, it won't break, and so it's impossible to recycle. You just have to throw it away once the usability of it is done. So I am very hopeful in that direction as well, because I don't know if plastic can go away. I am not very. I am hopeful about other things that we might be able to change, but plastic, like at least in medical applications, it has to stay for the foreseeable future, um, unless
The
we
thing
invent something big. You
the
know.
thing is, there have been talks of a lot of alternates. So there's a lot of talk about like plastic from seaweed, plastic from different, what do you say, biodegradable sources, but none of them have been successful enough to be scaled.
Yet.
So like they're not scaled. Like we hear a lot of great things about like, oh, this is a substitute for plastic, this is a substitute for milk, this is a substitute for I don't know. Like we hear a lot of substitutes that have been made in labs that do not require, let's say, the animals, or we do not require the actual plastic polymers. But now uh, what is happening is that even though we have the substitutes and we have small startups that are making all these plastic alternatives, but none of them have been scaled enough to substitute or come into the real market so that plastic can be slowly phased out. Now, plastic needs to be phased out because we are too extremely too dependent on it. Like we don't want to accept it, but that is how it is. Like when we were, and I think we've spoken about this a few episodes earlier, but like when we were younger, we would go to this vegetable market. We would just like, when we buy vegetables from different vendors, they would just pour the vegetables in our big bag. We would carry the bag from home, and we would just get back and we would sort, we would wash and everything. But now, like, you go to a supermarket and then you cut the little plastic bag and then you put like whatever veggies or something you want. Then you actually wrap it, you get it like sealed, and then they put a little sticker on it telling you how much it costs. And then you take that plastic bag and you go to the counter and get it billed. So there's just a lot of plastic just in the billing cycle of things. So forget about everything else. The convenience of life depends on plastic, even if we don't want to. So the phasing has to come slowly.
Yeah, and yes, and I think a lot of organizations have been trying to, bring in paper bags or things like that. Yeah, I think it is very, very important, if it's not for medical or chemical applications, that we start relying more on non-plastic solutions. Glass, paper can be great usage. There has been non-breakable glass has been created. What is our, like the phone screens made of? They are non-breakable glass from Corning. So I think, yeah,
Also,
or glass with very high tensile strength.
we have a lot of recycle, what do you say, recyclable, reusable, or even non-plastic. Now we have non-plastic straws, we have paper straws, we have like these, not paper, but these, we have the wooden kind of cutlery now. Now again, I do not know, when we have those non-plastic cutlery, how much pressure it puts on the trees. Because if we are We have like these wooden spoons and wooden
Yeah,
forks,
paper
and
means trees.
exactly. So we do not know what is better. Like, I mean, if you're replacing plastic and but you're replacing it with trees, how many more trees do you cut down because you don't want plastic in your life? So there's a lot of weighing to do when we want to phase out of plastic.
Yes, and that's what sort of boggles me sometimes when I think about these things. Plastic has done some immense good. I cannot disagree with that, and I'll keep repeating that. But yeah, it has done a lot of bad things as well. It's clogging up oceans. It's clogging up our cities, even. Yeah. So
But you can't say plastic is clogging up. That's again, we're blaming plastic. We have to blame ourselves. At some point of time, you can't keep blaming the, you know. So I'll give you an example. A few days back, I read some article that said that this woman was shot by her husband's shotgun. So it wasn't shot by her husband; it was shot by her husband's shotgun. So they put the blame on the shotgun instead of the husband. So it's
was
as
the
simple as
husband
that.
firing it, or was it like a misfire or something like that?
It was a
Like
misfire
she
by
was
the.
hand.
No. It was a misfire by the husband, but they
Uh,
made it sound like the shotgun was at fault, but not the husband. So similarly with
the
plastic,
shotgun might be at fault.
no. I mean,
If some
obviously,
hinges went wrong or the safety lock went wrong, it is a machine
no.
after all. Shotgun might
No,
be at fault.
it was something, it was a mistake by the husband. Forget about that article. But all I'm saying is that we like to not blame humans for anything. We rather blame this non-living thing. So we are like, oh, plastic is everywhere. But we are the ones who
Mm,
bought the plastic everywhere. We need to put that onus on
mm.
ourselves. And if someday if we do not put the onus on ourselves, then there is no change. Change comes from responsibility. So if we're not responsible, or we're not taking that responsibility of plastic onto us, then which we are in some level. Like now we do some kind of segregation and recycling, and what do you say, there's some kind of change with what kind of plastic is used and what kind of plastic. Now people also want to carry their own bags, and they carry their own cups and all of those kind of things. So there are small changes happening, but we need to understand that we are the evil ones. We are the ones who got plastic. We are the ones who are dependent. We are the ones who don't want to let go of plastic. We literally want the fruits cut in and wrapped in plastic. We're
There
that
is that
kind of
demand. Yeah,
humans. Yeah,
definitely.
we're
Yeah.
we're that kind of humans now.
Mm, mm. Well, we will keep following this story and we'll see where it takes us. Plastic will be a recurring theme in our show just because it is causing havoc on a lot of ecosystems. It is causing havoc on a lot of in a lot of different ways. So we'll keep following this story and other sort of plastic related stories as well in the future. Speaking of that, another area that I think obviously plastic has had a huge influence in is prosthetic body parts. So this is a story from the People magazine where it says Vasi, the sloth bear, first of his species to get a prosthetic leg. So Vasi, a sloth bear in India, has made history by receiving the first of its kind prosthetic leg following a snare trap injury that necessitated amputation. Originally a wild animal, Vasi was rescued in September 2019 by Wildlife SOS after a wire snare severely damaged his hind paw. The injury led to relocation to Banerghatta Bear Reserve Rescue Center in Bangalore, where his leg was amputated. Although he adapted to life on three limbs, the injury prevented his return to the wild, making him a permanent resident. Thanks to the collaborative efforts of Wildlife SOS and Derek Campania, Vasi now has a custom prosthetic limb. This groundbreaking new leg allows him to once again engage in natural behaviors like digging, climbing, and playing. significantly improving his quality of life and setting a vital precedent for injured bears. Um, I think this is a great story. I mean, at its face value, it's a great story. Um, Injured by the snares of some poachers, maybe, or for some other reason. I don't know why the snare was there, snare trap, but it was rescued, and then this prosthetic limb was fitted, so he can now be wild again. It's a great story, but also in my mind, I am also thinking like, how far should we extend that responsibility to, or extend that, I would say, encroachment in terms of how the animal will lead his life, or how the animal will lead his life after the injury. How far should we extend in those terms when
I
it comes to
think
wild animals?
with animals, like in this case, they rescued the bear and then they amputated the bear's leg, and then they knew that this bear couldn't go back into the wild. So when that bear then becomes like an animal that is probably going to be captive for the rest of its life, in that case, it is okay to interfere in its natural course of living so that you can give it a better life, because you're able to see it every day and you're able to monitor it every day. And it is basically, it's captive, so it's going to be staying with humans and it's not going to be in the wild. But I personally feel like when something's in the wild and you go as an observer, then you shouldn't interfere. Like, you know how a lot of comments come in when people put these videos of a tiger attacking a deer, or of some animal attacking some other animal. Then there are comments of people saying, oh, why did you not stop this from happening, or why did you not stop this from happening? But you have to let nature take its own course. Like, something is a
Hmm.
meal for some other animal. Or but in this also, I feel like, oops,
I mean, you can't stop a
somewhere,
tiger attack. Who is
no,
commenting? How, why didn't you stop it? Who can stop a
like,
tiger attack?
I'll tell you when that happens. Like, when like they show these images of a tiger that has attacked like a pregnant deer and there's still like a baby in it. So people feel for the
Uh,
deer, and they feel really bad that people did not stop. So there are certain, like, even
no, but
when, let's
how
say,
can people stop? Can people stop that from happening? Nobody can stop that from happening, right?
no, no, no. If a tiger is almost close to attacking, if you interfere with your car, or if there are other animals also, like there are so many other examples of like a snake going and swallowing a rabbit, and then they'll feel sorry for the rabbit, but no sympathy for the snake. So there are like a lot of videos like that where humans say this, but with this also, there's another thing. Oops, don't you think that when it is caused by a human thing, we should interfere? Like, if we have caused the disruption, then we should be the interference. Like, because in this case, the snare was human.
I think everything is, at the end of the day, everything is caused by us. Like all the disruptions that is happening in the natural world is caused by us. So nothing
Yes.
is not caused by us.
Yes, but in this case, the snare being there is absolutely some human thing, right? A wired snare being there. That is either by the hunters, or by, let's say, not by the hunters, but the wildlife department put it on for something else. But either way, that is a human thing there, and it's caused this much pain that the animal's leg had to be amputated. Now, if that snare did not exist, the animal would still be in the wild and would have zero problems. Probably different problems, but not this problem where it had to be amputated.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how far do we take it? Like, if microplastics now has been detected in the howler monkeys, do we go in and operate on every howler monkey? Because the microplastics was put there by definitely a human. Do we go and operate on every howler monkey to remove the microplastics from their stomachs, from their systems? Do we do that, or would that be taking it too far? So that's what I'm in is in my mind. Like, where do we draw that line, or do we have that line, or do we need to draw that line, or do we, I don't know. Yes.
Wait, that was a really bad example. I mean, that was a really, really bad example of the microplastics, because you literally cannot even see them to operate on them. So wait, That
No,
wasn't
no.
the
There is
main
a there
example.
is a there is a there is a way of removing microplastics from a system, right? You have to
Hmm.
wash the whole digestive tract. You can remove microplastic from a system.
No.
No, yes, you can.
As far
There
as
are
I
operations
know,
and there
as far
are
as
procedures, medical procedures available to remove microplastic from a system.
wait, let me check it because you're saying, but I don't think so.
So, do we do that?
No, I
That's
don't think
that's
you
the
can do.
so, and
I
there
don't
will be
think
many,
there.
many other examples.
I don't think there's any other way than like a blood filtration or something. They're saying.
So, do we do that then? Whatever is the way, there is a way. That is what I'm saying.
But even with
But
that,
do
they're
we do
saying that
that?
it is a novel way. With microplastics, there is no proper procedure. But there is no proper
Now,
procedure with
right now, there is
microplastics.
not. But when it becomes a global problem, there will be. I'm pretty sure. Right now, the blood filtration can be done. So, if the howler monkeys are dying one by one and everybody has microplastics, do we go in and blood filter everyone just to make sure that they have a better chance at surviving?
No, we can't do that. What we can do is that limit the microplastics that we're sending into the ocean or into the water or our consumption of plastics. So we kill the source because even if you're going to put a band-aid on the problem, it's not a solution. Even if you take a monkey and you filter their blood, eventually it's going to go drink the same water. So you have to go to the source
But
and you have to cut
but
off from the source.
like filtering the cutting the sources, like even if we stop plastic usage 100% from tomorrow, the microplastics will stay in the ecosystem for like thousands of more years.
That
There's
is
no way
true.
we are getting rid of that.
But I still think the microplastics is a really bad example of trying to get in and help an animal. Maybe other ways, but I still feel like if it is human induced in the sense that if it is in pain and if it is being rehabilitated and it's not being let out into the wild, then we can interfere in its life to give it a better quality of life because it is anyway captive, so it's losing out on a lot of things that it could do in the wild. So that in that sense, Vasi getting a prosthetic limb is actually a really nice story. But if it is a wild tiger,
No, if it had climbed up on a tree in front of our eyes and somehow slipped, because accidents can happen, and broke one of its legs, then we would not interfere.
no. I mean, I would say
Well,
no.
that's the thing. Like that's the line for you. Then yes,
See, because
that's the
that
line you
that
draw.
is that is basically we were there at that time to witness that bear slipping down. But if we were not there, that bear would have still slipped down. And that is something that
Yeah.
nature is taking its course on, and that is how nature decides. So it is even with humans. I mean, even with humans, right? Like you would have these kind of incidents where a certain incident can cause like a big change in your life, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like no amount of like we cannot interfere in such kind of cases.
I think we feel that for our own fellow, you know, human beings. That's why we want to transpose that feeling to, or extend that courtesy or the feeling to other animals as well. Because there were, I had read this very powerful line in one of the articles where it said that the first signs of civilization that can be found in the fossil record is a healed femur bone. That means that there was someone to feed that person, there was someone to take care of that person till the femur bone, which is a major bone and it's a big bone. For that bone to heal, it must have taken a long time without any sort of support or structure, or very rudimentary kind of structuring and supporting that part of the limb. So that is the first sign of civilization ever recorded in the fossil record. So that feeling is what we are extending to other animals and other species when we think about, interfering, I think.
But are you saying this healed femur thing happened after the hunter gatherer thing? Because the hunter gatherers used to leave behind the
No, no,
weak and
no.
diseased.
This is the first signs of a civilized society, a healed femur bone. Because
So
a healed femur bone just means that you had to take care of that person until the bone healed. Otherwise, the person would have just died if you left them behind.
So this is basically after the hunter gatherer phase, because that time people they would always
Maybe it
leave.
was before, it was after, doesn't really matter. But that it's the feeling that matters. That's the feeling we are trying to extend to other animals as well. Like, we'll take care of you, we'll take care of you, whatever be the problem, we'll take care of you. And that is how human society has, expanded and grown this much. We take care of each other, kind of. So I think that's the thought process here. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been, see the evidence in front of you. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to grow 8 billion strong if we didn't take care of each other.
It's not really us taking care of each other. We just made sure that humans had access to everything nice. So we made nicer and
But
nicer things.
isn't that making taking care of each other? Even if it's through the government, even if it's through our taxes, isn't it taking care of each other? If the king decided that we would not give any benefits, or if the government decided we did not give any benefits to maybe new mothers, or people without jobs, or people homeless, then if the taxpayer said no, we are not paying tax for this, and just revolted, then this society, the fabric of society, would vanish.
I don't think you have an option.
Even if it's indirect, no, you have an option. You always have an option.
You don't have an option to not pay taxes. You have to pay your taxes.
No, you have an option to protest how the tax is being used, or choose a government who will use your taxes in a different manner.
Yeah, it's
When these laws were being made, they had an option to not make these laws. There was an option at some point in time.
Yeah, but I don't think governments have that option, because you literally have a government there to make things so that they can
See, there is always an option. There is always an option. Even if it is indirect, we are taking, even if it is forced, even if it is without options, we are taking care of each other, right?
I don't know. As humans,
we have developed that construct. We have developed that society construct. It is not that someone forced us to develop that society. We have developed that society as a race, as a human species. We have developed that society. So there has to have been options at multiple thousands of times every instance to not choose to do it that way, do it other way. But we still chose to do it that way. So that is what I'm saying.
I don't know. Either way, this is very off topic from our topic. But
no, I'm saying that is the feeling we are trying to extend. Like, there is another story from samepeople.com where N.Y.C vets perform successful wing transplant on a monarch butterfly. So why did we have to do that?
Because they want to expand in science, maybe not because they want to save every butterfly that doesn't have a wing.
But what benefits will be that scientific? Like, would it benefit us? It wouldn't. Like, butterfly, I don't really think that would benefit humans in some way. It's a tricky surgery. That's it. Nothing else.
So it's more like a scientific, what do you say, challenge and advancement kind of thing. So whoever has worked on those butterflies, that must be the research to see. Now again, there are captive butterflies as well. There are butterfly parks, there are butterfly farms.
The delicate procedure involved attaching a donor wing to the recipient, a process made feasible by the fact that butterfly wings lack nerve receptors and blood flow in their end portions. A video remarkable surgery and subsequent release has gone viral. Of course, it has gone viral because we feel for that emotional bond that we made with that butterfly. Following the transplant, this monarch butterfly effortlessly took flight, demonstrating the procedure's complete success and giving the butterfly a second chance at life in the wild. See the language also used. It's very endearing language. Oh, such a beautiful thing. This butterfly got a second chance in life.
Oh,
We
I
love
think
second chances.
you should also share the article with the bear, like just share the bear's legs so the public can see, as well as the butterfly. If there's an image, I think we should share it for the
Yeah,
public to see.
I think there is a viral video of that butterfly as well. But this is definitely a scientific improvement. Look at that bear. It's a scientific marvel as well. It is adapted well to that prosthetic limb. It's walking with it. It's digging with it. It's following all the natural behaviors with it, which is fantastic. It also said like that bear had adapted to a three-legged life as well. But yeah, I think this is also fantastic. But like, sort of my heart goes out there because yeah, it's very endearing to say the least, and same with the butterfly as well. Very endearing to see that happening. Yeah, I'll try to share that butterfly photo as well. Yeah, look at that. Wow. That butterfly wing. I don't know why the butterfly looks so plasticky, but anyway. The viral video is playing as well, where they're sort of replacing the new wing. And like, oh, beautiful. Look at that. Oh, they just glued it onto the butterfly. That is amazing. Oh, beautiful. So, yeah, I think we'll keep doing this. I have no doubt. We'll keep doing this because it is such an endearing thing to do, but also scientific discovery as well. I think both for both reasons, we will sort of kind of keep doing this.
Tell me this. Like with a bear, I think you would sedate it for like for some kind of procedure. But with a butterfly, how do you let it just sit still so that you can transplant a wing onto it?
I think it was held down by a pair of forceps, but since there is no nerve endings, you don't need to sedate it, right? Since there is no nerve endings in the wing, you kind of don't need to sedate it. I mean, if we were doing something with our like hair or something, we would not need to sedate it. Like unless it was on the skin or the scalp, we would not need to be sedated as well. So yeah,
Tell me this. Like, where do you draw your line with human interference in the wild?
I think if we are observing it, I am my heart will go out and say, let's try to save this thing. Obviously, there is a natural course of things, like carnivores eating herbivores, or herbivores eating grass, or things like that. But if you observe something happening, then we should try and save it. If it's a repairable thing, you know.
No, I would say that we should interfere as less as possible in the wild until and unless we really need to, like in this case, because it was by a human snare. For me, it would
No,
always be.
I would say that is definitely that is definitely my line as well. But like for example, there is a natural behavior like two bison fighting for territory. They fight. Natural part of the thing is done, and then we check on the both bisons and see if they're okay. Take some, maybe some
No,
mend some
no,
wounds if there are some
no,
wounds, and done.
no, no. Never. If it is a wild thing, wild animals know how to heal themselves. They know how to get on with life, and if they do not, then it is always a survival of the fittest. It's something very human induced where we want to keep even we don't want to promote euthanasia. We don't want to let people go. We always want to save. So this is something where we
Mm.
kind of don't believe in survival of the fittest, but the animals, especially all the wild animals, they
And
believe
that
in
has gotten
survival of
us
the fittest.
so far. Like the show we're doing this casually, we are sitting at home, we don't have anything to worry about. That is because we don't focus on the jungle law, you know.
Exactly,
um
but also that doesn't mean that we need to play God. We already play God to the animals because we're like, oh, this is the national park and this is yours. These are the boundaries. We will come to check on you this time. So we don't have to do that.
mm,
Let the animals live their life till they absolutely need us to interfere or intervene.
yeah, I think different lines, different types of um viewpoints.
I feel like your thought process is still very human oriented than animal oriented. Like you think from the
Huh,
perspective
yeah,
of a human, but for
yes.
me, I think more from the perspective of the animal. Like if this is
Like
how nature
nobody
works,
can
if
ever
this is
think from the perspective of the animal. You are transposing your own feelings on what the animal is thinking.
definitely. But what I'm saying is that I would rather let the animal be wild, but you would want the human aspect of interfering, or you would want the human aspect of, like, you're more human oriented,
Yeah.
like with let
No, no,
them.
I'm not saying if one of those bison died in that attack, we would stop it from one from not killing the other. I'm not saying that. I would
No,
let it
I'm
go according to nature's plan.
no, I'm also saying when two bisons or two bears or two tigers or two leopards or whatever animal it is, if they are fighting, that is nature's course because there is some kind of territorial dispute that they have. And
Yes.
then you let nature run its course and you do not interfere. You let them live their lives as it is going
Yes,
because
we will
there
not
is
interfere. I'm not interfering.
no, not
One
even
tiger
with the
kills the
wounds.
other. I'm
No,
not interfering.
no, not even with the wounds. You do not
Once they have
interfere with
gone their
any.
separate ways, once they have gone their
No,
separate ways,
no,
maybe after
no,
1 or 2 days,
no,
I
no,
tend to
no.
the
That
wounds.
no.
What
That is
harm
the
is it
worst.
doing?
Arey, the whole point is that you're not letting nature take its course. The way it has to heal naturally is very different than when you mend it.
But
You
if
do
I
not
take
know.
nature, take its course, that 1,000 tigers will be dead by tomorrow.
They will not be if that the only way tigers are dying was because
See,
we.
the thing is, we cannot shrink our population. That is a given. We cannot shrink our population at this point in time. It is very difficult for any government to enforce some kind of population shrinking plan. So
But
we have to,
wait,
that is
are
our
you
barrier.
okay? Wait. Let me tell. Okay, right now the governments find it difficult, but tomorrow, if there is absolutely some kind of catastrophe where you have to
Okay,
act
I'm
on.
not thinking about tomorrow. I'm thinking about the moment right now. I'm thinking about the moment right now in front of us. That is our, unless, until that changes, that is the guardrails we are operating within.
No, but tell me this: how does that have to do anything with nature taking its course of action? The whole thing that you can do is
So
create.
that means, so I'll go come on to that. The thing is, we are not changing our population; we are increasing in population. So that means there will be more encroachment into the wild spaces. There will be much more encroachment into the wild spaces for living for us, but also the natural resources, things like that. So that will only increase. There is no sign of decreasing. It will
No, but
only
did you
increase.
did you not say that the population is going to peak in another 25 years and then it's going to start falling?
No, no, another 100 years. It is going to peak in another 100 years, and then it's going to start falling.
No, it can't be that much. There's already a declining birth rate trend.
Until that comes, until that is ratified by every government and every scientist, until that becomes the social, that is the main social narrative, we have to assume that the population is growing.
But okay, let's assume it's a slow growth. At this point of time, when
Okay.
we talk about the climate and we're talking about protecting it, we want to create more and more spaces for protecting it, right? I still do not
Yes.
see that if we are creating more spaces for its protection, because that is what we owe to nature, why do
Like,
we want to
Earth has a
interfere?
finite space. How do we create more space?
whatever spaces we have, like let's say the open spaces that we have, we at least protect those spaces.
But it cannot take precedence over our own habitat. Like it won't. I know for a fact. Like I'm trying to be pragmatic there.
And
I know for a fact.
how is that relevant to you going and tending to the wounds of a
I'll
hurt
I'll tell
bison?
you. I'll tell you how it is relevant. So that means their spaces are decreasing. So that means they're facing much more pressures from the habitat loss. So that means there is much more pressures of them dying off. So I am trying to eliminate one of the pressures, the natural pressure.
Why don't you just make a zoo out of everything then? Don't keep natural spaces at all if you want to
But
interfere.
no, but
Just
that is the
no, just
thing.
make it zoo. Make everything a zoo. For cut down all the
Everything is
forests
already a
and just
zoo.
have zoos.
Everything is already a zoo, Meghna.
No.
Everything is already a zoo. It is already confined. That national park, as you were saying, national park is already confined. It is kind of a zoo. We go and visit and look, it is a
That
zoo. It
that's
has
probably
fences.
that's probably the saddest thing I've heard today.
Yes, it is the truth, but it is the truth.
Why is it
It
called a
is the
national?
truth.
Yeah,
National Park Zoo, it should be called.
I think it's
So
just the
that is what I'm saying.
area. I think it's just the area and how vast it is, which is why it
Hmm.
doesn't come under a zoo. It is vast, and still there are animals that migrate through different national parks. So we still do not we have those migratory patterns going on. So it is not as bad as a zoo. But if you want to start interfering into everything instead of just protecting the species, let's do a band-aid
We
procedure.
are already interfering in everything. We are already interfering in everything.
We're not
Yeah.
interfering in how they live. We're probably interfering in where they live, but not how they live.
Like we are
We
creating
can't.
natural, like we are creating water holes. What is that? Is that not interfering? Why we are
It
creating a
is.
water holes? Because we cause climate change, and that's why rainfall is scarce, and that's why we are creating water holes. So what is that? Is it not the same as tending to the wound? It is the same.
No, tending to the wound and water holes are very different because you're just trying to get water somewhere, but you're not trying to.
But you're not letting nature take its course. If nature took its course, there would have been no water, and they would have just died.
But there must be some other source that the animals would find. It cannot be that bad that we have to create water holes.
But every national park all over the world has artificial water holes.
I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying because I've seen that myself. But are you saying that naturally there will be no sources like for hundreds of years or
I
thousands
don't
of
know.
years?
I can't answer that, but I can see what is there. I can see what's there and what the all the governments and the forest departments spend a lot of money on creating those every season and filling them with water with like water hoses and all the other things. There must be some reason behind it. Scientists must have done the research. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I never thought about why we make water holes. Yeah.
Mm.
Because I always yeah that is just really strange because I would assume that there was somewhere that the animals, I mean, when you're in a jungle you would know how to survive and there would be some kind of source, some place that you can reach to. So this is really weird for me that we have to create the water source for them.
Exactly. So we are already interfering. We are interfering more than we should in a lot of cases. So that
That
is what I
doesn't
where
mean
I draw the
that
line.
no, but that doesn't mean that we keep interfering and keep interfering and keep interfering and keep interfering. Then just get the
No,
two
no.
bisons and
I'm
keep them in your
saying
backyard.
if we observe it, then we
No, no,
interfere. If we don't observe it, we don't.
you bring the two bisons and keep them in your backyard.
That I won't do because that requires a lot of maintenance from my part.
If it wasn't for that, then you would actually bring them.
No. Even if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't
If
bring them.
you
I would
if you
let them live their
had
lives.
if you had like a staff of 20 people, you would be okay getting two bisons and keeping them in your
No.
backyard.
Even then, I wouldn't be okay with getting wild things into my home. I've never had a fascination for keeping wild animals as pets or like in my home. I no, I just don't see those animals that way. They should live their lives. But if we observe something happening to them, that is where I draw the line. Again, I'm not saying you should draw the line there as well, but that is where I draw the line. Um, but anyway, we can probably move on to what you wanted to talk about next.
I think we will move on to the corals.
Mm,
So right now it's a really even though we've spoken about corals a long time, we've spoken about corals almost, I think, every episode, because there's been some kind of marine story, so we've talked about
mm,
them. But this is an article that has come up in the Guardian and in other places as well. It says that the planet's first catastrophic climate tipping point has reached, with coral reefs facing widespread dieback. A significant report by 160 scientists, like
mm,
160 scientists, warns that
mm,
Earth has now reached its first catastrophic climate tipping point due to escalating greenhouse gas emissions, primarily affecting all warm water coral reefs. These crucial ecosystems, home to a quarter of all marine species, now face long term decline and widespread dieback unless global heating is rapidly reduced to 1.2 degrees centigrade. This critical decline risks the very livelihoods of hundreds of millions globally. The report also suggests the world is alarmingly on the brink of other critical tipping points, including an Amazon dieback and major ocean current collapse. However, some experts dispute these absolute claims, suggesting coral reefs might remain viable at higher temperatures despite their current decline. Tipping
of
points
course, they
signify.
would refuse.
No, but these are also other scientists or some experts. Tipping
Yeah.
points signify inevitable profound ecosystem degradation. So now I
Mm,
think for people who do not know, the ocean provides more than 50% of the oxygen that we breathe. We think it's from the trees, but it's not just from the trees, it's also from the ocean and all the photosynthesis process that goes on in the ocean. So the ocean
mm,
actually is the bigger source of oxygen for us. So if you're talking about like a mass coral dieback, we're talking about a mass dieback, or like a mass dieback of all fish that depend on the coral reefs. That obviously affects the people, but we're also talking about a lot of oxygen being reduced in the system that would also affect people who are not completely dependent on the corals locally.
mm. Yeah, I think corals is one of those very sensitive, because like it has evolved over a long time, like a millennia, in some cases, in that particular ecosystem, in that particular habitat. Um, it is very sensitive to those temperature changes, and like it's not like it's 1 degrees or 2 degrees, or sorry, 0.1 degrees or 0.2 degrees, it will just go berserk. But when there is a 1 degree change in temperature, it means that such a huge body of water has been warmed to 1 degrees. You see, take a big pan of water and try to boil it. It takes longer and longer as the pan gets bigger and bigger. So imagine the ocean. You can't even imagine the ocean, how big it is. And that has warmed by 1 degrees all over the world, because all the oceans are connected. So that is a huge thing. That is a huge feat to achieve. Um, and we
it's
somehow have achieved it.
it's not
And
a feat to achieve. It's literally a disgracement to achieve.
like, yes, it is a huge thing to achieve, and we have achieved it. And that's the worst thing that could have happened, like us achieving that. So yeah,
Yeah,
corals are one of the
and
most threatened by this
yeah,
ocean warming.
and the thing is, most of these local communities that thrive on fishing, the remote islands, the small atolls, the smaller island nations, they have the most pressure because they,
Hmm.
one, have rising sea levels, but they also have to also deal with the fact that there's lesser fish in the ocean. And to add to it, if you have coral dieback, then basically their sustenance, like their life or their way of living, will completely change because they are dependent on the ocean. They don't have anything that really grows on land. It is the ocean and the fish that is their primary source of food.
Yes. I think that's the reason why ocean ecosystems are such important. As you said, like it produces a lot of oxygen. It is the main source of oxygen, and yeah, it's just very difficult to grapple that fact that we have caused such a big change in the ocean temperatures. And by the current trends, it is keeping on increasing. It's nowhere near slowing down or, you know, um, going the other way. So corals is one of those species, one of those animals that has faced the brunt of it up till now and will keep on facing the brunt of it, unless we can do something about it, which I don't know. Do you think we can do something about it, Meghna? I don't know if there is any research on it, but I don't think we can do anything about it.
The only thing we can do is that we make major changes. So that would require the governments to come together, that would require the companies to come together, the bigger conglomerates. And only when that happens and everyone wants to bring a positive change will we be able to bring change. So with nature and the way we have caused climate change and global warming, the only way we can do is roll back our activities. And on a smaller scale we can, but on a bigger scale, these companies that literally thrive off the profit of what they produce and what we consume, they will not roll back their production.
It's very difficult for shipping. Shipping is one of the major causes of ocean acidification and ocean warming. We take it for granted for a lot of things, but yeah, I think stopping shipping of goods across oceans is literally impossible. And do you remember, like during COVID, I think shipping was stopped for 18 hours or something, and already there was measurable changes in the ocean that could be seen because of that complete stoppage of shipping.
Really, that happened? I don't remember.
That happened.
Okay, I don't remember
Yeah.
that. But I have shared the article from The Guardian, and
Yes.
it says that unless global heating is reduced to 1.2 degrees Celsius as fast as possible, warm water coral reefs will not remain at any meaningful scale. And this report is by 160 scientists from 23 different countries. So it's not even like, we can say, oh, just a few scientists somewhere have come up with one research paper. This is a collaborative effort of 160 scientists. And in the science world, for so many researchers to come together and publish a study or is very rare, is extremely rare, because it can be like maybe sometimes 5 up to 10 people on a paper, but it's usually not so many people agreeing on one thing. Like research agreeing on one thing is lesser, and for 160 scientists to come together and agree on one thing is even lesser.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Does the article mention anything about like a solution? Are there people working on uh, a plan, a solution of a plan? Plan of a solution. I don't know how to put it, but are there people working? Is there a realistic,
See, I
achievable solution in all of this?
I think there are, obviously it says it's because of the greenhouse gas emissions. So the only the
We all
only
know that.
solution we have, yeah, the solution we have is to reduce the greenhouse emissions. Now we have to think about where do the maximum greenhouse emissions come from, the greenhouse gas emissions, and then that's where the change will happen. There is no other way.
Mm, mm. That is very difficult, but we can take that challenge. I believe we can do it if all the governments come together and all the big lobbies come together, especially like the shipping lobby and the transportation lobby and all the other lobbies that are present.
Yeah, I think one of the
Yeah.
biggest changes we need to do, and obviously this is how a dead coral reef looks. So this is, I think, one of the
Oh,
images.
it's terrible.
Yeah, it's very bleached out. It has no life around it. Um, and actually, if people did not know, once we were in Indonesia, and they told us that now it doesn't happen anymore, but they used to have blast fishing at some point of time. So they would actually throw like a dynamite into the ocean, and it would kill like a lot of life around it,
Mm,
but it would also like break the coral up into fragments. And then once like the area had settled down, then they would like throw a net in and catch all the
mm,
dead fish. And it was
right,
called blast fishing or dynamite fishing. But when you
right.
go and diving in those areas where this dynamite fishing used to take place, there is like just like fragments of corals on the seafloor, all dead corals on the seafloor. And it is quite a sad sight to see, because I think when you just see from the surface and you do these kind of fishing which are not sustainable, you do not realize the long term impacts of it. And similarly, when we saw this picture, it reminded me of that. So like dead corals, because they're dead, they cannot support any life. Like the fish, they actually stay next to the corals because the corals have these
Mm,
algae in them. These algae
mm,
the fish kind of feed on these algae and make sure that the coral
mm,
don't have too much algae. But the algae also have a symbiotic relationship where they produce the photosynthesis as well. And the
mm,
corals feed off what the algae produce. So in that way, they have a symbiotic relationship. But algae tend to grow really fast. Like for anyone who has seen algae grow on like stagnant lakes, the algae can grow extremely fast. So for that, to keep that in check, the fish and the lobsters and the nudibranchs and everything else come into play, because they're feeding on the algae continuously and keeping the algae in check. So it's a beautiful system, and it's a circle of life where even if one component goes astray, the entire system collapses.
mm, mm. I think, yeah, I think it's a challenge for sure. Um, and um, and corals are these keystone species in a reef ecosystem. Um, that they are the species that everything is built around. So losing corals means the whole reef just vanishes. And sorry, I said something a while earlier, which I have to sort of kind of correct a little bit. I said the pandemic, the shipping break had some measurable changes. That was the right part, but it was not for the ocean, but for like the humpback whales. So this is an article from NPR where it says whales get a break as pandemic creates quieter oceans. So this is from 2020. So when shipping stopped, the whale activity and whale singing and whale talking was observed more because there was that heavy machinery noise was not always playing in the background. Sorry, just had to correct that. But yeah, I think corals like dead coral reefs. I've seen them. It's a very like heartbreaking sight, and I think Meghna was right. Like we will keep talking about corals because they are such a keystone species in ocean ecosystems.
And the thing is, oops, that it's not like we can't make changes, because when COVID happened, we literally put our life on halt. Like people were just confined to their houses. You were not allowed to fly anywhere. You were
No,
not
but we
allowed to
knew
go
this
in.
was not permanent, right? We knew
We
this
knew
was
it,
not
but
permanent.
but we also knew that we were capable of change. That was the first time ever that I saw that humans were okay with giving up on their whatever way of life they had.
Because nobody
And
likes dying, Meghna.
yeah, that
Everybody is
okay.
afraid of dying.
True, but if we could come together for our lives, we can come together for our lives again by saving or protecting the ocean and the environment, right? At the end of the day, if you're saving the ocean, you're saving yourself. You're saving like millions of people who are dependent on the ocean.
I completely agree with you. I have the same view as well. I think we can do it, but on the flip side, I'm also very pragmatic in seeing how we generally behave. So I and we have discussed this before in on the show as well and in real life as well. That I am always for solutions which takes the current limitations into account and then proposes a solution anyway. I am very fond of those kinds of solution. This is the reality, but we can still do these things that will have a significant impact on things. Again, ideal state, I completely agree that we should stop we should reduce our emissions as much as possible. But I'm not seeing everything. I might not be as intelligent as all the other scientists out there. But in my brain, I cannot see how we can achieve that. Like, it's very difficult for me to visualize a scenario where we are doing those things effectively and sustainably.
But we
Yeah.
need to act fast. That is the thing. Like if so, obviously we don't talk about this often. Apart from other activities that humans do that cause the greenhouse gas emissions, one of the biggest factors is also beef consumption.
Mm.
Cows are supposed to be a big source of methane, production, and especially in New Zealand, where Oops is right now, where so New Zealand's biggest source of pollution is actually not any factory or anything else because they don't really have a lot of production facilities there, but it's cows. I think account 42 to 47%. Is that the is that
Something
how it is?
something around that number, yeah.
Yeah, so cows are the major source of pollution in that place, and it would have been probably in other places if they did not have, what would you say, other industries. So that is also one of the major changes that
No,
humans need
actually,
to make.
cattle and beef is 25.7%. Um, kind of, sort of, kind of.
Is this the newest one?
I think so. 27.9% is this from Stats NZ, cow and sheep. Um, yeah, 27 point some percentage. Yeah. 26.4, like different things, but yeah. um yeah,
Yeah,
but anyway, but that is also a significant number. It's not like
because
it's
I remember
nothing.
when a few years back when I was there, that's what they would say. They would say something in the 40s. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Maybe there are different papers with different things.
yeah, we have to believe like one of them. Yeah, cattle digestion and sheep digestion. Yeah.
Yeah, but either way,
Yeah.
basically, that is one of the biggest changes we need to make. And I think one time me and Oops, we were talking about bringing that topic on board and talking about it, but we've not done so far. And that is also one of the biggest changes we need to make, like dietary changes as a whole.
Hmm.
Earlier, meat was restricted to like the elite or people who had a lot of money. Now meat is available and accessible for everyone as well. So that has caused an increase in consumption, and that increase in
Hmm.
consumption has also put a lot of pressure on these poultry farms. So chickens are being reared at a alarming speed. Then it's the same thing with every other animal like sheep or goats or cows. The way they're reared is very different, and the lifespan is also very different because we rear them with that kind of pressure that we need that kind of meat or milk or other things from these animals. That is also one of the biggest changes that we need to do apart from all the industries and all the government and all the conglomerates. This is also one big change.
And this can happen at an individual level. Yeah. So that would be our appeal. Like, again, we are not enforcing anything. We are not trying to enforce anything. It's an appeal. If you find it feasible, suitable in your lifestyle, to reduce, if not completely let go of, but reduce the amount of red meat you consume, especially beef, then definitely choose to consume less. That would be our appeal. Again, this is not any kind of forcing or any kind of endorsement of any different alternative sources, but of protein, if that is your only source of protein. But we're not endorsing anything, we are not forcing anything, but it's an appeal to reduce the amount of beef consumption in your diet if you're able to, if it is possible at all for you. So
Yeah, and I
that would make
think
a huge
the
change at an individual level if you can, if we all can do that.
and the thing is that you have to get these things into motion, like talking about it. I still remember, because I've spoken to multiple people about the environment and wildlife, because we're always in that zone and we talk about it. I've had
Mm,
people come up to me and tell me that they reduced their meat consumption by 1 day in a week or 2 days in a week, and I
wow.
was just really happy that that friends came back and told that, because we spoke about it and because they were not aware about it earlier, but they're aware about not just the what would you say, the impact of consuming animals at this rate, but also the fact that how these animals are abused. So when they took those things into account and you create that kind of awareness, they made that small change. So you do not have to give up, you can just reduce, and even reduction causes a
Yes,
big difference.
yes, reduction does cause a very big difference. And like, if you are reducing, that means it is having a bigger impact, which is basically, it's also reducing um, the demand for it.
Exactly. Yep.
So that is what ultimately will completely, at a tipping point, when it is no longer profitable to serve a very small amount of these meats. That will be the tipping point where all the farmers or all the producers of beef will have to make that choice that we are no longer producing it. So that decreased demand is a very important tool that we all have. But again, we're not forcing anyone to do anything. We're just merely appealing and suggesting, maybe, that if possible, there might be many reasons why it is not possible for you in your particular case. But if possible, make that choice to not reduce
Yep.
your consumption.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we've spoken a lot about the grim news of, how the oceans are dying. And oops, you have
yes.
something probably like a positive news for that.
Yeah, I think a development, a definite development, and this is the kind of solution that I like. You know, artificial reef. This is a report from the BBC, where it says artificial reef created at Rampion offshore wind farm in Sussex. One of the world's largest artificial reefs has been installed at the Rampion offshore wind farm off the Sussex coast. The pioneering project features 75,000 specially designed reef cubes across 820 square meters around a single turbine base. It is the first initiative of its kind at a wind farm, providing vital scar protection against erosion from accelerated sea currents. Again, it is because of, to provide some benefit to the wind farm, so that the wind farm, doesn't corrode or things like that. But it is a net positive in my view, in any case. So accelerated sea currents replacing traditional rock installations. Simultaneously, these low carbon concrete cubes with chambers and honeycomb textures are designed to create a thriving habitat for diverse marine life, including worms, anemones, oysters, mussels, fish, and crustaceans. RWE, the operator, called it a sustainable win win, fostering biodiversity while safeguarding infrastructure. ARC Marine, the designer, sought to replicate natural reef complexity. This significant trial expands on previous smaller deployments, showcasing an innovative approach to nature inclusive offshore energy development. And I think it is a great progress. Again, we are trying to mimic a reef. We are not installing live, you know, corals or anything like that there, but we're trying to mimic the reef with concrete and different other things so that it encourages that biodiversity to come there. And it is serving us a purpose as well, where, you know, the corrosion and other things are from the sea currents is reduced as well. So again, somebody called it a win-win. It is a win-win. Sustainable, we have to wait and see if it is a sustainable solution, um, or if it's a band-aid, or a temporary solution.
Yeah, I think with things like this, it is positive, but we do not know if it can actually ever replicate and take this place or substitute an actual coral reef. So it might be mostly a band-aid until we can find a long-term solution. So it's a good band-aid, at least for now. And in this way,
Yeah,
because it is a win-win for the offshore wind farm as well
there is an
as for the,
incentive.
yeah, there's an incentive to keep doing such kind of things. So maybe in such ways also you can give the ocean a little more time to thrive and survive with such kind of solutions till we can find like a
Mm.
long term way of changing our global warming scale.
Yeah, and I think, but I do think like, this is a bit ambitious. Where ARC Marine, the designer, sought to replicate natural reef complexity. I think that is a very big ambition. Again, if it is achievable, really, then you know, commendable. But to me, as a layman, it is a very big ambition. But even if we can reach, you know, 40% or 30% of the way there, that is a net positive and a net good in my opinion as well. So yeah, and since there
That
is
is
an incentive,
true.
as Meghna was saying, you know, people
Yeah,
will
that
keep
is
doing
true. I
this.
think, yeah, I think that there is no way that you can ever replicate a natural reef because of the way that it behaves and of the way that it has a
Mm,
symbiotic relationship with the algae in it.
mm,
So until the algae doesn't find a way to thrive in it, or the algae doesn't have that symbiotic relationship with such kind of structures, there is no way that it can
mm,
actually mimic a natural reef. But still it is a
mm.
band-aid solution till we find long-term solutions. And even if we have such kind of band-aid solutions for a few years, this might give us hope to find a long-term solution for saving the corals in general.
Yes, and again, that incentive means a lot because these big companies, um, they won't do anything uh, without a strong financial incentive. So that is great in this situation, particularly that there is a strong financial incentive, there is a strong technological incentive to sort of keep doing that. Um, yeah, cool. We can probably talk about some new species next, as is norm. Um, so where are the new species one? I'm trying to find it. Oh, there's one. The most ancient Indian wolf is said to be a new species. This is a report from the Hindu. The Indian wolf, Canis lupus palipus, numbering only about 3,000 in India and Pakistan, faces severe threats and is expected to reclassified as a new species by the IUCN, acknowledging its status as the world's oldest wolf lineage. Listed as vulnerable, the species needs more protection. Its population decline stems from poisoning by farmers again, human animal conflict, a vastly depleted natural prey base, and extensive habitat destruction. Semi arid areas, often termed wasteland, are being lost to projects like highways and renewable energy farms. One den site was engulfed the by a solar farm. Further challenges include hybridization and disease from feral dogs. Indian wolves are rarely attack humans, with recent conflicts like in Bahraik linked to extreme poverty, underscoring complex conservation needs. Again, a very important milestone for it to be declared a new species. But obviously, there are organizations and scientists working towards resolving some of the human animal conflicts. But very important milestones so that it receives funding and enough visibility from the scientific community and the government as well. Cool. To what do you want to talk about next,
And
Meghna?
the beautiful part about this, yeah, and the beautiful part what Oops said is that Indian wolves rarely attack humans. Even though they kind of share this wasteland, grassland area with us, they usually do not attack us, and they need more protection.
Yeah, I think Meghna is facing some technical difficulties at her end. Um, your computer is overheating, from what I can see. That might cause some troubles. There was another story. Definitely, yeah. As Meghna was saying, like this is like there is a lot less conflict than we think there is, and we just need to make sure that that conservation plan and the coexistence is and education as well. Like the local farmers must be educated because a lot of them are poisoning these wolves. So yeah, local farmers need to be educated as well. Something else this week that was very surprising to me, and again, we must take some measures to mitigate it. We must. It's very urgent and in our face. Is a story from the BBC again, where it says Australia's rainforests are releasing more carbon than they absorb. Warns scientists. Australia's tropical rainforests are now net carbon emitters, a global first for such ecosystem. Rainforest, I mean, if you think of rainforest, the visual that comes to your mind is this huge vast of greenery, huge trees, dark canopies, and you are definitely never imagining it to be a carbon emitter. You're always imagining it to be a carbon sink, a carbon absorber. That's the image that comes to mind. Traditionally acting as carbon sinks, of course, that's the image that comes to our mind. These Queensland forests now release more carbon than they absorb due to increased tree deaths. And you might be wondering the same thing, like how the hell it is possible? So, due to increased tree deaths, converting woody biomass into a carbon source. Of course, when something decomposes, it releases that carbon as well. This critical shift, starting approximately 25 years ago, so it has been a long time since it started, is directly linked to climate change, as is with every other thing in this sphere, including extreme temperatures, atmospheric dryness, drought, and severe cyclones. Lead author Dr. Hannah Kahl warns this significantly impacts global emissions reduction targets as current models may overestimate forests' vital carbon offsetting capacity. Based on 49 years of comprehensive data, the research emphasizes how climate change threatens the essential role of forests in mitigating its worst effects. This is like so grounding, you know. We always think of forests as this carbon sink, as is said in this article as well. And all the carbon credits, the new trend, the carbon credits that we buy in the modern world, that corporates buy in the modern world, is based on the fact that we are planting X number of trees and then we are selling carbon credits because that is offsetting this amount of carbon, and then we're selling it as credits so companies can buy it, and whatever emissions they're making, that is being offset by the trees we planted. Whatever that weird math is, that is what something that is happening. So that perspective is essentially changed by a situation like this and a news article by this, like this. Yeah, it's it's
Yeah,
something.
I'm sorry. Did I think I got disconnected in between.
Yeah,
But did you?
there was a little.
So you you started the Australia's rainforest topic right after the wolf thing.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, so I think this is actually very disturbing to know that the carbon sink can actually now become carbon sources. And what Oops
Mm,
just talked about, like how the companies sell, or we in general, we're like, oh, if we're cutting down trees, we need to plant more and more trees. That doesn't seem to be the
mm.
solution anymore, because and obviously, I think Oops might have spoken about this. The change has also happened because there's a lot of severe cyclones, there's drought, there's dryness. So the dieback in these rainforests is happening faster because there's not enough moisture. Now rainforest is such an ecosystem that needs a lot of moisture in it. Like they thrive on the rain, they thrive on it being wet all the time. So when it's lacking that moisture, it immediately causes like a lot of trees to die naturally because they need more water than you know than what is being provided if it gets dry. So I think that is the major
Correct.
difference why. And that means if it can happen with Australia's rainforest, it can happen with the Amazon rainforest as well.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time if we don't take serious measures and if we don't take, you know, serious steps towards solving that. And as is in the paper as well, Dr. Hannah Kahl warns this significantly impacts global emission reduction targets, as current models may overestimate forests' vital carbon offsetting capacity. And this line is, and this sentiment in general is very important because we have to take into account that this might not be the case, and we might need to employ some other strategies as well, to save this forest. This is very interesting and very sort of distressing
Disturbing.
at the same point, disturbing at the same time, and we might try and get the scientist, the lead author of this paper, on the show at some point to tell us more about it. But and if there is any current solution that is being worked to change this, but yeah, it is like it fundamentally changes the way you look at forests, which is, you know, very very distressing to me. um yeah um
Yeah,
So,
I think with in this episode we've talked about how the ocean is dying and also how the rainforests are dying. So it's not a
mm,
very positive, net positive episode for us. But it is also very alarming, like as humans, that we have to really, really start taking these things into consideration. Like we're almost at the end point when we start
mm,
realizing that the ocean is dying, the rainforests are dying. The two major sources or the two only sources of oxygen that we require to breathe. So if those sources are dying, then we literally cannot survive. Like even if our population keeps growing, there's nothing we can do if we do not know a way to produce oxygen also artificially. You know?
I mean, yeah, that basically is the bottom line. Like, if we don't understand, like, if we don't have oxygen, nothing in this world, like everything in the world, ceases to exist. If we don't have oxygen, or if we have toxic gases more quantity than we have oxygen, and this picture of a rainforest is what comes into mind as I was saying, which might soon be gone from our perceptions if we don't take serious action to solve this problem. Not because we want to solve everything that we come across. It's not a problem that we want to solve, but it's a problem we want to fundamentally change or eliminate the sources for this problem. I know it'll be very difficult. It is very difficult. Again, in my pragmatic brain, I'm like, there is no way we can achieve this. But we kind of have to if we need to ensure the survival of us. Like, this might happen in our lifetime, right, Meghna? Like,
Oh, definitely.
this.
I mean, going by Attenborough's last testament, I think we're dying really soon. Like because the planet is dying really soon.
Yeah, it
I don't know if
is.
we'll be able to reach the whatever the 11 billion mark of humans as anticipated. I feel like everything is going to die much sooner. I also feel like there'll be
Mm,
this maybe this grim picture I have that there'll be no trees or no ocean left and all of us would have like oxygen masks on and carrying our cylinders with us because there would be no
mm.
oxygen and you would have to buy oxygen, like how it happened in COVID. There was a fight for oxygen cylinders. I think that would be the normal going forward. I mean
That
we
is
already have
dark.
we already have like air purifiers. Like imagine like we created a problem, then we created a product for that problem, and now that product stays at people's houses, and we keep it on the whole time because we want fresh air. So we've created polluted air, then we want fresh air, so we're doing this. So it's going to be the same with oxygen. Like we would have no
Mm,
oxygen, then we would like create oxygen, and then oxygen will be really, really expensive, and only like some people will have access.
yeah. And I find the discussion question that we have noted down for this funny as well. What happens if our natural carbon sinks like rainforests become carbon sources? Simple. We die.
Yes,
Um,
we do,
and
we do.
we as humans die knowing that we cause the problems, but every other species just dies because, you know, they can't survive and they don't know why. They're just
Exactly.
collaterals in the problems that we have created.
They're already
Um,
collaterals. They're big
they're
collaterals.
already collaterals. Yes, they're already
But
collaterals. Correct.
but talking about that, I think we can end on a positive note. We have
Sure.
this other topic where it says where MPs, members of parliament across Latin America, unite to stop fossil fuels in the Amazon. Now, this is something that I think Oops
Mm,
and me have spoken about a lot of episodes, that we do not see the government taking these initiatives. We need policy change if we need any kind of change. And this is policy change. On October 7th,
mm,
over 900 lawmakers from 96 countries organized as parliamentarians for a fossil free future presented a critical report at the Brazilian National Congress. This investigation exposed the severe impacts of fossil fuel extraction in the Amazon, linking it to deforestation, pollution, community displacement, health problems, and armed group violence, marking a historic first. Parliamentarians from Brazil, Colombia, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and Bolivia simultaneously introduced legislative proposals in their national parliaments to halt fossil fuel extraction in their Amazon regions. This unified call for a no expansion zone aims to push COP30 in Belém to prioritize a fossil free future for the Amazon. However, the varying national ambitions and heavy reliance on extractive industries present significant challenges to achieving a complete phase out. So it's still a start. It's a great start because they don't want
It's a
any more
great start.
expansion. Yeah, they don't want any more
Hmm.
expansion. And this is something we've spoken about earlier as well. And it's, like we don't have this is all Latin America, but we've seen like other what do you say news from like Congo, where Congo was opening up newer areas for fossil fuel extraction, but with Latin America taking this change, it might actually pass on to other places like in Africa where they want to exploit. So we've already exploiting a lot with nature, especially with fossil fuels. And maybe the one way that would happen again is that there has to be a way to not have so much dependency on fossil fuels. One, secondly, because there's no more
Hmm.
expansion, what has been dug out will be dug out, but the other places can be protected, which means the Amazon might have a better, what do you say, chance at surviving.
Mm. And I think the first line of this summary, where it says 900 lawmakers from 96 countries organized, that sentence or those 5 6 words is like so powerful to me, because getting lawmakers in one room or any kind of politician in a single room is like near impossible sometimes, I feel like. And to have achieved that, that is a different level of feat in itself. And that just shows that they must have been like, out of those 900, maybe, even if half of them, or even if a quarter of them, have been like enthusiastic participants, that is a great place to be in. Like, even if three quarters of the 900 people were forced or somehow had to be there, I don't care. But even if one quarter was enthusiastically, present there, that is a great win for Latin America and Amazon in general.
Yeah, and I think like today we've seen like 160 scientists coming up with that report on the climate and 900 lawmakers coming together for the
Mm.
Amazon. So we do realize that these tipping points that we have with the Australia's carbon sink becoming a carbon source, and with that entire report about the climate tipping point for the ocean reefs, we realize that we have to come together. So this is actually great that we have come together for something as big as stopping fossil fuel expansion in the Amazon. So this is, I think, one of the most epic highlights that lawmakers have come together and they've actually taken a call, like, and that at,
Hmm.
at a really good speed, and said that
Hmm.
no, we do not want to expand.
Yes, and yeah, and the sheer numbers, like 900 lawmakers and 96 countries, like that's that's almost half of all the countries, worldwide. Yeah, it's a great point for us, and like organizing towards a common goal. Yeah, I think it's a first as well. Like, I don't think this has ever happened before, especially like, in such platforms as COP30, and at a national level. So yeah, it's superb in my view. And again, like as Meghna was saying, 160 scientists, 900 lawmakers, it's just all around great. And that gives us hope, right? Like, we can probably solve some of these problems. Yeah.
Yeah, if so many people can come together in one room and then 5 countries can, take a call in their national assemblies right after that kind of a meeting, it is a great
Mm.
change. And I think that is the true marker for development, in my sense, that when we are,
Oh,
as a species, wanting to save the environment, wanting to save, the forests, because that is our dependency. Like, we are dependent on them. The forests are not dependent on us, but we are dependent on them, and we need to realize that.
that is such beautifully put. Um, yeah. Cool. What do you want to talk about next, Meghna?
I mean, if I don't know if we can go back to the new species, but there was one hairy nail
Yeah,
species.
we can. Yeah,
We can. Okay,
yeah,
so
sure. Why not?
okay, so this is an okay, so this is an article where it says that a new hairy snail species has been discovered in the Tilari forest region in India. Researchers from the Thakre Wildlife Foundation have discovered a small new snail species, the Tilari hairy snail, in Kolhapur's district's evergreen Tilari forest. Named, I don't know, the scientific name is very difficult for me, but let me
Mm.
try. Lagochilis Hayao Miyazaki,
Ooh,
after
nice.
renowned Japanese. Oh, it's after the renowned Japanese animator Hayao Miyazaki. The discovery was published in the Journal of Conchology, conch, like the conches. So it might be
Yes,
conchology,
yes.
maybe conchology. This
Yeah.
marks the first record of the genus Lagochilis in the northern Western Ghats, extending its known distribution range. The research team included Amrut Bhosle, Tejas Thakre, Swapnil Pawar, Akshay Khandekar, and Dr. Dinarzadeh Rahim. Amrut Bhosle highlighted Miyazaki's film's connection between humans and nature, mirroring this discovery's revelation of forest wonders. Tejas Thakre emphasized the snail's limited and threatened habitat due to wildfires and deforestation, stressing the critical need for further research to understand its ecological role and prevent extinction. The finding underscores the rich yet unexplored biodiversity of the Western Ghats. I'll just share a picture of. Oh, okay. It's already been shared. So that is how the hairy snail looks. This was just very interesting because the snail has hair on top of it, like on its shell.
Mm.
And you usually never see hairy snails. Like, most snails are smooth.
Yeah, kind of. That is such an interesting discovery as well. And as we said, like, we like to bring in these discoveries because there are like countless scientists. It is also important to bring all the scientific advancements that is happening in the world, because there are countless people working on either solutions or discovering new species, or doing the work that needs to be done in order for us to fully understand and devise a solution which is not just like a blanket solution, but is tailored for each ecosystem and each species. Um, cool. Yeah, I
I
think
I
I
think
think
on that
I think
note,
we
yeah, we can
yeah
start winding down. I mean, we always
yeah
have like a load of topics to talk about, but like, it's great that we got through so many topics, because initially we thought we were talking so much about just the initial microplastics, that I thought we wouldn't be able to get through the carbon sinks and the big change. But that was great that we're ending on a positive note with finding new species and talking about how lawmakers are making this change.
yeah yeah. Anything for the audience? I know you have always have a question for the audience before we end. Um,
Yes, like, for the audience, I would like to ask you, how alarming is it for you to know that microplastics can be in everyone and everything? And how alarming is it for you to know that trees that were supposed to be carbon sinks are now carbon sources? Like, what is your reaction to this? Were you as flabbergasted as we were when we read about this?
Yeah, that is a great question. And let us know in the comments down below. And as always, subscribe if you're watching this live, and definitely subscribe if you're watching this recorded as well. Follow us on all the different platforms. You'll find the links somewhere in the description as well. It really means a lot. It just puts our show in front of many more people and audiences that would definitely need this exposure to this wildlife narrative and conservation narrative. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that consumption in their daily life. Which ultimately benefits us all. If you're listening to the recorded version of this podcast on your favorite podcasting platform, do consider leaving us a rating. That will also help with the reach that we have on those particular platforms. But other than that, that's it for today. We'll see you next Sunday, same time, same channel. Have a good one, guys.
Bye bye.